Coming to you live to talk to you about immigration, to see the questions that you may have on your minds tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Moumita Rahman, and I'm an immigration attorney. I have been practicing immigration law for the past 15 years, and it is my pleasure to do the work that I do because I believe that immigrants make America great already. So thank you for joining my channel. Thank you for joining my live. If you are a follower, if you're new to my page, welcome, welcome. If you are a current client, thank you for being a client and for trusting us with your case. And also, of course, for your continued patience as we work through all these challenges that this administration has thrown our way. And if you want to call our office for a case evaluation, give us a call, 212-248-7907. We are open on taking calls and making appointments every single day, okay? Let me know what state you're from, what country you're from. I love to hear where everybody is from. Dragons Create, thank you for your work. Thank you so much. All day one, me and my wife have been together for 2 years. Does she qualify for citizenship? I think that's kind of a hard question. If you're trying to do citizenship, you've got to be a green card holder first. So that's the first point of information that I would need. Ronak, thank you so much. Roner, hello from the Philippines. Hello, Manny. Hi, Jai. Hello. How are you? How's everybody doing? All right, guys. So I actually have a very important topic to start off for you guys today. And what are the top 5 signs that tells you that immigration is not going to like your case? All right. What are the top 5 signs that tells you that immigration is not going to like your case, and what can you do about it? This is very important because, believe it or not, immigration starts judging you and your case the minute that you file it, depending on what is happening inside of the paperwork, depending on what sort of evidence you provide, and depending on a multitude of factors. So let's talk about what are the top 5 warning signs to immigration that's going to make them not like you and your case, okay? The top one is if you are filing a marriage case, because most of you out here are filing for cases based upon marriage. If you are filing for marriage and you and your spouse do not live together, if you and your spouse do not live together, they are not going to like your immigration case. Why? Because especially if you are filing for a marriage-based green card and you and your spouse do not live together, this is the number one sign to them that your marriage may not be a real marriage, which of course is not necessarily true, because some people and some couples have to live apart for a variety of reasons. Number 1, you might have to take care of a sick parent. Number 2, you might have to move for work. Number 3, you might be in the military. Number 4, you might have to live apart for work. And there are many reasons why a couple may not be able to live together right now. That does not mean that the marriage is not real, right? So what can you do to protect yourself? Well, you've got to have lots of evidence. Anytime you show a warning sign in your case, you've got to have lots of evidence to kind of counteract that, to kind of fight back and say, no, even if this might be true, it doesn't mean that my marriage is not real, right? And also, you have to have a good reason to show why you are not living together, and maybe show that it's a temporary situation, okay? Number 2, another top reason that immigration is not going to like your case is going to be if you and your spouse have a big age difference. An age difference is something that immigration will use to kind of judge you right off the bat to see if it's a real marriage or not, and they don't like big age differences. So what is a big age difference? A big age difference to them is going to be anything that is more than 10 years old. 10 to 15 years old, a 10 to 15 year age difference is something that they're not going to like. Obviously, if it's more than 15 years, and that's an even bigger red flag for them. So what are the things that happen? You know, like you might get an RFE, you might get called in for an interview, and you might even get called in for a second interview when you display these sorts of red flags. And the best way to protect yourself is to just beef up your evidence, to have good explanations, and to have a good attorney with you at your interview who can prepare you for the tough questions. The number 3 sign that immigration is not going to like your case is if you have any sort of criminal history. Immigration in general does not like criminal history, right? If something is dismissed, that's great. If it's not dismissed, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do. And it doesn't mean that your case is going to get denied. Again, the best way to protect yourself is to, first of all, Make sure that you're getting your criminal charges analyzed. Make sure you have the proper documentation to show what is the final disposition, the final outcome in your criminal case, and make sure your attorney knows about it so that they can defend you and prepare your case accordingly, okay? What number am I on? I don't remember, but the next sign that immigration is not going to like your case is if you have committed fraud in the past. If you have committed fraud in the past, and it's especially on record, then immigration is going to have a tougher time trusting what you are saying right now, which kind of goes without saying. It doesn't mean that you're going to fail, because there are certain waivers that you can do for fraud. There are certain ways that you can explain what happened, and you can ask for forgiveness. However, if you have marriage fraud, that is something that is going to make your case very difficult, because that is something that you may not be able to overcome. So here's a reason to not commit any marriage fraud, especially, okay? And lastly, the biggest thing that's going to show immigration that they cannot like your case, they're not going to want to approve your case, is if you have committed a false claim to U.S. citizenship in the past. So what does a false claim to U.S. citizenship mean? It means, like, number one, you have said that you're a U.S. citizen, you voted, you've registered to vote. These are all things, or you've used the birth certificate of a U.S. citizen person. These are all signs that basically show that you have claimed to be a U.S. citizen. And there's not really a way to get over this, to overcome this, unless you are filing for a T visa or a U visa, okay? And that's how you can protect yourself, okay? All right, guys, let's go ahead and answer some questions. I hope that helps. I hope that's some new information for you guys. I hope you like this style. Varun Aurora, she's double my age. Does that work in VAWA? Well, my friend, anytime you show red flags, you've got to work a little bit harder to show why your marriage is real, right? One of the central things in a lot of immigration cases is to show that you have a good faith, bona fide marriage. And what that means is that you have married your spouse in good faith. You actually intended to make a life together and join everything together when you got married. And I have had plenty of cases approved where my clients have had sometimes even a 20-year age difference where they did not live together and it was not a traditional marriage, and you can still get your cases approved. You just have to work a little bit harder, have good explanations, and have good evidence to show why you have these disparities. Also, you have to be able to be credible at your interview. That's why having excellent representation for your immigration interviews is so important. But beyond that, you need to be well prepared for your immigration interview, because a lot of people really underestimate how important immigration interviews are. They underestimate what kind of questions they might get asked, and they underestimate how much preparation goes into being prepared to answer questions at an immigration interview. And just today I had somebody complain to me that all that we do is fill out forms. Trust me, guys, we do not just fill out forms. We are watching your back, and we are preparing your cases to beef up these weak spots that you might have that you may not even realize, okay? All right, 212-248-7907. Okay, Promote This is saying, hi, I got my interview scheduled within 6 months of filing my marriage-based green card case. While my work permit is still pending, I have no criminal or immigration record, and I'm just concerned that this is a trap. From Promote This Nag. All right, Promote This, that's such a good question. Is your immigration interview a trap? And the answer is, it is probably not a trap unless you have a deportation order already. If you have a deportation order, that is where you need to be a lot more concerned. You need to be a lot more cautious about going to these interviews, because there are some jurisdictions where if you have a removal order already, that means that the judge has already signed an order that you should be deported from the United States. If you already have that, then your immigration interview may be a trap. They may be waiting for you. Now, if you have criminal history, is that a trap? And the answer is likely no. We have had several interviews over the past 2 months, at least, if not over the summer, where the client had some criminal issues. No trap. They went through it just fine. But of course, if you have anything that's a negative factor, I really recommend that you go with an immigration attorney to your interview, because Sometimes you just never know. So what happens though if you've just filed your green card case and it's been less than 6 months and you just got an interview? Is that a trap? I would say probably not, because it just means that your case is being processed. What I will say is that the trend that we are seeing in immigration offices across the US is that we are getting interviews for our marriage cases very, very quickly these days. It's taking 6 months to 8 months, sometimes less, to get interviews. So don't be worried, but of course work with an attorney if you are ever in doubt, okay? All right, Jesus is asking, can a DUI and 2 temporary restraining orders against me affect my VAWA? From Jesus. Jesus, is a very, very good question. Can a DUI affect your VAWA case? And the answer is that there are certain criminal convictions that may affect your VAWA case. But notably speaking, a DUI is generally not considered to be, for a VAWA case, you have to show that you have good moral character, and you especially have to show that you don't have anything that you have been convicted of within the past 3 years that would be a bar to showing good moral character. And if you do have certain convictions, you can show that they're connected to your domestic violence that you suffered in order to get a waiver of your criminal conviction underneath VAWA, to get your VAWA approved. And these bars to showing good moral character, the criminal convictions that they consider to be a bar against good moral character in a VAWA case, are very serious. They're things like kidnapping, rape, like felonies of big orders. And usually a DUI is not considered to be one of those bars. Of course, if you have something that's like an aggravated DUI, multiple DUIs, multiple aggravated DUIs, then that may be an issue, and you have to show, again, the 3 R's: remorse, regret, and rehabilitation. Okay. Next, if you have a temporary restraining order against you, will that affect your VAWA case? And what I would say is that if it's your spouse that is calling the police on you and getting this restraining order against you, then to me, I would say that that's probably connected to a pattern of abuse where your spouse is constantly using the law against you to scare you, to manipulate you, to get you to comply. And when that happens in our cases, we show a connection to domestic violence. But of course, it's a serious matter, and especially if you have any domestic violence related conviction, that can be a possible problem in your VAWA case. As always, if you have any of these issues, you have to get the records, you have to disclose everything to your attorney and give them the opportunity to analyze your criminal history so that they can give you a good assessment and a good recommendation about whether it's okay to move forward or not, okay? I hope that helps. Okay, Jesus and Efren. Efren me pregunta, hola, ¿cómo está, abogada? Yo tengo un caso por matrimonio. ¿Cuánto tiempo se lleva que te den un permiso de trabajo? Efren, su permiso de trabajo va a tardar más o menos 6 a 10 meses para recibir. Y en muchos casos hemos visto que es antes recibiendo su permiso de trabajo, en muchos casos recibimos su entrevista para su caso instead. ¿Cómo se dice the word instead? No me acuerdo. Ok, Efren, espero que va a ayudarle. Okay, let's see what else we have. Mike Alomari, have I-751 either joint or solo gotten harder to approve these days? From Mike Alomari. Mike Alomari, that's a very, very good question. We file lots of I-751s in our office. We file a lot. And one trend that I have noticed is that almost every single I-751 that we filed with a waiver for extreme cruelty or battery this year, we have received a request for evidence, and we have received these requests from evidence from the same officer in Texas for all of them. So whoever this officer is in Texas that is issuing these RFEs, they don't like our cases, and our cases are very well put together, okay? So that's what we have noticed. But we've gotten all of them approved, and a lot of them have also gone for interviews, and we have gotten all of them approved since an interview too. Now, this is not going to be the case in every single story. Of course, every case is different. However, have they gotten harder? No, I would say that they haven't gotten harder. They're just making us jump through more hoops by way of the RFE, by way of interviews. We even got one RFE after an interview a couple of months ago. But guys, you see my testimonials, you see the videos with our clients. We are still getting these things approved, okay? So what I will say is that the joint I-751s are still about the same. We're not really seeing any problems on that. We're not really receiving a lot of requests for evidence on that, but we do sometimes get interviews on those too, okay? So Mike, I hope that helps. And if you have a 2-year green card, guys, we do a lot of I-751s, and I like to think that we are one of the few offices in the US that does a lot of I-751s. And we have seen all sorts of scenarios. We have done divorce I-751s, joint I-751s, I-751s based upon extreme hardship, I-751s based upon extreme cruelty or battery. And the bottom line is that they have always been kind of hard to approve. It's not something new, because whenever you get a 2-year green card and you're not filing with your spouse for the I-751 application to remove conditions, immigration automatically puts you into a category where they're suspecting you of fraud. And that's exactly why they gave you a 2-year green card in the first place. So if you're not with your spouse, or you're not filing with your spouse any longer, that is all automatically a red flag to them, which is why it's always taken longer. It's why they almost always give interviews. It's why they give RFEs. It is why sometimes on these interviews, the officers can be very, very nasty. And that is where experience comes in. I have sat through so many of these interviews where my clients have been asked every sort of question. I have gotten into, I've had to really defend clients and really had to protect clients in that sense, okay? So I-751s, it is not something you should file by yourself. You should definitely hire an attorney. And this is something that we have a lot of complex history underneath our belt in getting these things approved. So give us a call, 212-248-7907. Carmela, thank you for the rose. QZ Construction, I saw you gave me some roses too. Thank you so much. I hope this helps. Diana Huss, I hope that helps too. Okay, I have an approved U visa and my asylum is pending in court. So what should I do in this situation? From user 123. User 123, if you have an approved U visa, I would say you should let the court know, and maybe the judge will allow you to administratively close your case or terminate your case in court, or they might want you to proceed on your asylum. Okay, so what you can do in court is largely going to depend on what the judge will agree to. Okay, I hope that helps. Rafael, how can I get in touch with you in Queens? I'm a green card holder for 50 years. I have a record. Do you have a record, Rafael? Give us a call, 212-248-7907, okay? Do they send out biometric notices twice? Sometimes. Can you file for VAWA if your case gets denied from Queen B? Queen B, I am assuming that maybe you're talking about an I-130 case with your spouse. And here's the thing. If you have an I-130 pending with your spouse, you do the joint case together, and you are afraid it's going to get denied, don't wait for it to get denied before you file for VAWA, guys. Here are the warning signs. If you, I have to talk about this. If you are with your, filing a case with your spouse and you are suffering these warning signs, don't wait until the worst happens, right? The worst that can happen is you have to go to an interview. Your interview goes horribly, and your spouse or the officer might accuse you of having committed fraud because of how badly your interview went. Maybe your spouse is like sitting there in the room laughing and saying, yeah, I married her for some money, right? And that is going to get you accused of marriage fraud. So don't wait for the worst to happen. If you are suffering these things in your marriage, you need to call today. And this is your sign. If you're watching me right now and you're going through this and you're like, how the heck does she know what I'm going through? I know what you are going through, because we have seen this happen in thousands of cases, okay? So number one, if your spouse all of a sudden told, before you got married, they're like, yeah, of course, we'll file together, baby, don't worry, I'll take care of your case. But the minute you get married, they flip on you, they change. They get aggressive. They're like, I'm not going to help on you. If I help you, you're just going to get a green card and leave me. They don't want to give you the paperwork. They don't want to go to the lawyer's office with you. They start complaining about how much money everything costs. They don't want to give you their tax return. They don't want to give you documentation. They don't want to tell you things. That is warning sign number one. The minute your spouse starts playing games with you about your application, you need to be on high alert, because I'm telling you, my loves, it just goes downhill from there. Number two, you find out things about your spouse you never knew before you got married. For example, you never knew that they have all this credit card debt. You never knew that they were married before. You never knew that they have kids from a different relationship. You never knew that they're still in touch with their ex. You never knew that they have some sort of criminal record. If you are finding these things out after marriage, guess what? It's not a mistake. It's not an accident that they didn't tell you. Your spouse didn't tell you these things because they didn't want you to know, because they didn't want anything to get in the way of you saying yes to getting married to them. But now that they have you in their hooks, they're going to exploit that, okay? Number three, the minute your spouse starts complaining that you owe them for the green card, you owe them for a house to live in, you owe them for how they're helping you, the minute your spouse tells you that you owe them for your life here, I'm afraid to tell you, I regret to tell you that they already think they own you. And if they think they own you, then they're going to try to control your case, which means that they probably don't want you to get a green card. If you've been having these things happen on top of your spouse treating you like you're stupid, calling you names, getting upset at how you look, telling you to lose weight, telling you that you don't satisfy them, telling you that you're not a good wife, you're not a good husband, you are supposed to take care of them all the time, you need to pay for everything. If you are suffering any of these things, then this is your sign to not wait until the worst happens and to find out what your legal options are today to file for a self-petition, okay? And we have helped thousands of clients all over the United States. And the reason why I know these things, the reason how I know these things happen, and the reason why you might be like, damn, this lawyer knows what I'm going through right now, is because the patterns are just very, very consistent and common, okay? It's really about wherever a U.S. citizen feels the urge and the right and the need to control what happens in your life, okay? So give us a call, 212-248-7907. Can I travel to my home country with an expired U visa or an approved U visa? Well, you need to get advanced parole first. How is DACA looking from Juan Arellano? Juan, there's no updates on DACA yet, but hopefully sometime soon. I have a green card pending through VAWA. My case is transferred. How long is it going to take from Gil transferring? It's not going to affect the overall timeline. El Reyes, muchas gracias. Buenas noches. Can you give more information on the $1,000 parole free? Yes. Hey, how are you? How are you, Savin? Okay. So the $1,000 parole fee, and does that apply to you? And the answer is going to be that if you have entered on any like sort of humanitarian parole, you may be required to pay a $1,000 parole fee. But this is not going to apply to anyone who has gotten advanced parole that is connected to a I-485 application. So those of you who've got a green card application pending and you got your advanced parole through the green card application, through the CO9 category, the $1,000 parole fee is not going to affect you, okay? Hope that helps. And Titus Glover, I see you have the same question. Does the $1,000 parole fee apply to VAWA applicants who applied for advanced parole? And the answer is no, because your advanced parole is going to be connected to your I-485 that you filed. Okay, let's see what else I have. My co-sponsor only has IRS transcripts. Will that work or not? From Sumer Ashraf. And if you're talking about filing for the I-864, an IRS transcript could help, but it's also good to throw in W-2s, letters of employment verification. Those are the things that usually help. Okay. Varun, yes, we'll review your file. My status says interviews canceled. What does it mean? It just means that your interview got canceled. Could be for a variety of reasons. I know that sometimes electricity shutdowns can affect interviews being canceled. Sometimes the officer is not available, or sometimes you may have asked for a reschedule. That could be a reason why. I have a question. I'm a green card holder and I'm being married with the lady, but her visa expires. Can I file it from DJF? DJF, if you are only a green card holder and your spouse's status is already expired, they are not going to be eligible to file for adjustment of status. And in fact, they might need to leave the US to do a waiver. But if you are a green card holder trying to sponsor your spouse, you might be able to keep them in the US and do the petition if, number one, they are in status. Number two, if their priority date is current and you're eligible to file an I-485. And number three, if they don't have any unauthorized employment. Can I file my mandamus during government shutdown? And the answer is yes, because the government shutdown does not affect the courts. The courts are still open as far as I know. How long does an NTA take to receive? My cousin's I-485 was denied in early August and has not gotten an NTA from Gonzalo Gonzalez. NTAs can take anywhere, we see that NTAs can take anywhere from, like 3 months to 6 months or more to receive. It really depends on the office and how fast they're working through NTAs. You may never get an NTA either once your I-485 is approved or denied, because they may not refer you to court. My friend is filing citizenship in December. He got his green card via a prior marriage, divorced 3 years ago, and is now married to somebody on F1. Is it safe to file, or should he hire your firm? Ambi, well, Ambi, you're already displaying to me a couple of red flags. He got his green card through a prior marriage and divorced 3 years ago. He's probably not eligible to file citizenship in December. He's married to somebody else right now. It's going to raise some red flags, probably, if he does citizenship, as we found out with a different client. So, but if he does need our help, feel free to give our phone number to them. It's 212-248-7907. Is it normal for the I-360, I-485 work permit renewals to take longer than a year for approval from SOSO? Yes, it is very normal. Oh, Jesus, the TROs were dismissed. That's great, my friend. That's really good. Okay. My wife has a criminal record. She asked me for money again, and I paid her bond 3-4 times. My marriage is 1 year old, and she threatens to call ICE on me from Punia. Punia, that sounds pretty bad. Feel free to give us a call, 212-248-7907. LK Fusion Treats, I filed for UVs in February this year along with I-765, and I've been tracking my status, and it says now 4 weeks to receive a decision and work permit. Is this somewhat accurate? It could just be the bona fide work permit is what they're probably talking about. Hi there, from Jean. Next week will be 3 months after the interview. No response yet. Is this normal? It's not really. I mean, it's normal, but it's not. I like to say that at least half of interviews get approved within 2 months. You get a decision pretty soon, and if it's taking 3 months, more than 3 months, that's not normal. But they do say that you should give at least 120 days after your interview to get a decision. But if it's been more than 120 days, that means 4 months after your interview, you still don't have a decision. I recommend that you make a lot of noise, be that squeaky wheel, and call USCIS for case status request. Make a lot of noise, get your congressman involved or congresswoman involved to help you get a decision on your case, okay? Is it a good sign I've ever received 2 prima facie so far? Yeah, it's not a bad sign, Milan. I applied for my kids in November. I'm a U.S. citizen. Why is it still pending? From Stephanie. Stephanie, if you applied in November this year or last year, I don't know when you applied, but if you just filed, then it's going to take sometimes it takes like a year to get approvals on these, even if you are a U.S. citizen. Can someone who works as a babysitter for 2 years file for a green card from Dawn? Dawn, thank you for the question, Dawn. So if you are a babysitter, whether or not you can file for some sort of status is going to depend on several things. Number one, do you have a legal entry? Number two, do you have unlawful presence? And the sad truth is that, the sad reality is that majority of people who are working for 2 years probably don't have a status anymore. Like, it's probably expired if you did have it in the first place. But what I want to talk to you about is, if you have been working as a babysitter for 2 years, are you working with the same person? And what are they like as an employer, right? Because what we sometimes see in a lot of people's cases is that if you're working for an employer on a job that should be an easy job, like a babysitting job, however, your employer, your boss asks you to stay late all the time, they don't pay you on time, they know that you don't have a legal status, they know that you're undocumented, and they sometimes make comments about it, they scream at you, they yell at you if something happens. If you are working in very, very bad conditions, then that may be a gateway to a different type of visa called the T visa, okay? And we have helped a lot of people who are in the domestic service industry with a T visa get legal status. So give us a call, 212-248-7907. Siri, I am in New York City, New York State, and we work with clients all over the US, okay? All right, guys, that is all the time that I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Moumita Rahman. I just want to first of all say congratulations to our new New York City Mayor, Zoran Mamdani. I know some of you are watching. We are very, very excited and very, very happy to get this representation in politics right now. So I just want to point that out to you, that all of you out there who are watching this, this represents a lot of hope in the way that hopefully we'll see a return to civility in politics. Okay, guys? All right. I hope you all have a great day. I think I just saw Amanda. Hi, Amanda. Cesar. Love you. It's good to see you. Okay. I hope you all have a great night, everybody. Take care. Good night and God bless.